Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this new episode of Cianciana Piazza Virtuale English edition. Myself is Vito Candiloro, talking to you from Madrid, and today is another sunny afternoon here in Madrid, and we are ready. I'm ready to connect, in this case, to Cianciana to meet a new fellow citizen, a newcomer who decided to move from abroad and to settle down in our beloved town over there in Sicily. So, without any further waiting, let's introduce to this studio Andy Richardson, who is in connection with us from Cianciana. Hi, Andy, and welcome to our show.
Hi there, Vito. Thank you for having me, and hello, everyone.
It's a pleasure having you here at the studio, and together with you today, we'll talk about your life, about the decision you made to move to Cianciana, a place where you're working from. And we also talk in this episode about the history of Sicily. Being you an historian, it's the best option we have, the best chance we have to go through the infinite story of our island. Of course, it will be not so deep our conversation, but okay, we will give some clues.
Yeah, and it's a fascinating place it is, and
Yeah. But before starting, just I want only to remind you that these podcasts, these interviews are available here on Facebook and also on our YouTube channel, Cianciana Piazza Virtuale. And if you want to share your thoughts with us, to say hello to our guest, feel free to comment this live show. So I will share with you and with all the listeners the notes and the comments that will be arriving. So Andy, let's start our conversation with the first question I would give you if we were in Cianciana under the clock tower. Where do you come from, and when did you arrive in Cianciana?
so I'm originally from Warwickshire in the centre of England. I was born in a town, Royal Leamington Spa. It's a rural area. The nearest town's Coventry, so we're dead centre in England. It's a small town. It keeps getting bigger, but yeah, that's where I'm originally from, and yeah, it's nice. I having grew up in a small village called Bishop's Hitchington, which is smaller than Cianciana. So I've moved from a small rural countryside village in England to a rural mountain, village in Sicily.
Is it different from the atmosphere that you have in your hometown? Which are the main differences? I mean, we're used to this kind of situations, but what are the main differences that you have seen up to now?
I think a lot of it is there is a lot more amenities in rural Sicilian towns. So you've got, I mean, in England there's always the pubs, of course. That's kind of a given. Whereas Italian culture and Sicilian culture, you've got bars that are the coffee shops and bars and meeting places. But the fact that you've got such a variety of shops in Cianciana is a big difference.
Okay.
And the connections, really. There's a lot of buses. Whereas when I was growing up, there was a bus sort of in one direction and the other direction, and you didn't have many connections. Whereas there's regular connections to Agrigento, to Sciacca, to Palermo. It's countryside, but it is connected, which is a really big difference. You don't need a car as such, whereas living in rural England, you need a car.
it is funny to hear that, because we always have the impression about ourselves, about Cianciana, that is disconnected from the rest of the world. But indeed it is. I mean, we have a lot of public transport coming to Cianciana, and from Cianciana, from Palermo, from Agrigento, and of course the roads are not the best ones, but you know, it's something also that is part of our environment. And talking about Cianciana instead, Andy, which was your first impression once you saw the village?
To be honest, it was coming in from the bus from Palermo in August 2020. Actually, was the first time I visited Sicily. When I came to visit my friend Shelley, who's lived here, and you interviewed her for your first, as part of the first interview you did in English. I've known her a very long time, and I came to visit on holiday, just when it briefly opened up for COVID, and that was my first experience of Sicily. And I love the bus ride from Palermo to Cianciana. It's a special journey, the mountains and seeing all the villages, and the way that Cianciana just perched on that hill as you're coming round on that bend is really quite incredible. And that was my first experience, was just August, and it left, let's just say this, it left as much of an impression that I ended up returning from my holiday, and I finished my job in the UK and moved out the following October. I moved to Cianciana on the 2nd of October last year, after visiting just once. You know, I think it's such a beautiful place with not just the buildings, it's the people. I think there's just certainly something about Cianciana that sticks with you. It's very welcoming, and the people are very patient. You know, I had a bit of Italian when I arrived here. I hadn't spoken it for quite a long time, but you know, the people are welcoming, they're encouraging you, they're patient, and they're very they give you a very warm welcome, and make you feel like you're part of the community, and that's really nice. It's something that's special. And the fact that, the more I learn about Cianciana, you know, Cianciana's all over. You know, there's communities of Cincianese all across the world, and the people who have made Cianciana their home, or Cincianese that have moved around the world. That it's still, you know, it's definitely a village of the world, Cianciana.
In your case, we can say indeed that was love at first sight, because you just moved to Cianciana immediately after you visited it for the first the first time. So so that was really an impressive situation that happened. And in that sense, you are now settled down in Cianciana. You are working from there. And now that you have moved, which are your feelings? How do you find yourself working from there, living in Cianciana, but in this particular case, working from this spot?
I think it's what's impressive is for you know, the size of the town, and how rural it is. You know, it's in the mountains. It's possible to work over the internet because it's got, you know, fiber optic and pretty good internet connection, which is quite incredible, really, when the town that my parents live in Warwickshire doesn't even have fiber optic yet in the UK. And the fact that you can have work remotely and enjoy the benefits of the Sicilian lifestyle. You know, the thing I love the most is waking up and going for that coffee in the morning and seeing that view of the mountains, you know, the steps, the clock tower, you know, and that view, seeing the wind farm is something that I've loved doing each morning. Just it's refreshing. It's sort of restoring in a way. You know, there's you everywhere you look at in Cianciana, you go up to the cross and you just see the town spread out and the mountains. It makes life look like good, you know, and the fact that there is such a lovely community, you know, it's
Yeah.
like it's nice to achieve work balance, you know,
Yeah.
work and even if you enjoy your work can be stressful, life can be stressful, but when you can look out and enjoy a certain amount of peace and see the view and have such a beautiful countryside and the beach not far away. It's been different,
Very
admittedly,
nice.
with the pandemic's different. A lot of Cincinnati have said to me, "You've seen Cinciana with COVID. You know, it's very different without it, especially in the summer."
It is true. It is true. These are special moments everywhere, but especially in our situation. I mean, the situation at the moment in the town, but not only in Cianciana, unfortunately, everywhere.
Yeah.
This makes everything more difficult, but still, it's nice to hear that you are enjoying your new life that you started actually during the pandemic. Imagine when this is over, that will be even better
Exactly.
than it is now.
Exactly. You know, if you can love a place and enjoy it when it's perhaps it wouldn't consider itself at its best, then you know you've got something to look forward to, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how
Very nice.
when
And
it gets to
talking
normal.
about the people of Cianciana, Andy, which is your relationship with them? Do you have already any local friends? Have you been able to meet our Ciancianese people and
Yeah, definitely. I
get
mean,
along with them?
I do. Yeah, I like to speak to as many as I can. I mean, at the moment, it's sometimes it's in half and half English and Italian. Sometimes more English. I mean, the house I'm currently staying in and renting is above Francesco's Roadhouse, his music studio.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So you know, it's got to give a shout out to Francesco and what
Yeah.
he's doing there because I think that's incredible. And
He's online at the moment, and we say hello to
yeah,
Francesco. Ciao, Francesco. And
I see
as we
Luana's
mentioned,
mentioned it. Yeah,
yeah,
it,
yeah,
it's nice.
yeah.
And it's great, you know. I love talking to going to the coffee shops like the Cocktail at Trieste and going to, and chatting to people like that and chatting to people in the streets. You know, everyone says hello and is welcoming, or when they're driving by, peeps their horn, and you know, it's really nice to know that the
Very
people
nice.
sort
Very
of
nice. In
make you
which
feel
part of
welcome.
Cianciana do you live? Which
Off Largo Stazione,
Largo
Cortili
Stazione?
Martirani.
Okay,
Yeah, just off there.
okay. Good. And also, Francesco is just writing one of the best neighbor in the world ever. So
Yeah,
he's appreciating you a lot.
yeah, and I've
And
got to know some of the people who've made Cinciano their home. You know, like Richard, Holton, and Arnett, and Claire, and Phil, and others. So you know, it's been nice to meet so many people. Some have had to leave to go back to other places because of work or because of situations. But what is nice is to know that we'll all meet again in Cinciana and to meet everyone more. So you know, it's great in that regard. You know that everyone will get to meet more and and hopefully that's the most frustrating thing is I found it easier learning Italian when you can meet and hear it regularly.
more
Uh,
people, yeah, yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. It always is a matter of time and dedication just to learn Italian. Indeed, it's even easier for us to learn English than for you to learn Italian, because
yep,
everybody
yeah.
speaks English at least a bit, and
Mm,
on the other side, you can live even for years in a place without learning the local language. But if you can, it's a wonderful
It is.
experience, and the knowledge that you will bring for you with you forever. So while we are talking, some people are messaging or texting to us. We say hello to Francesco, indeed, who is following us, and also there are a few messages from Nina Snyder. Hi, Nina. And she says that she agrees that people of Cianciana are so special, and also hello to Nunzio Palminteri, ciao Nunzio, and Luana Soldano, who have sent their messages to us while we are talking with Andy Richardson from England, who just moved to Cianciana, and in that sense is the best moment for you to learn better and to get a lot deeper into the Sicilian history, which is a theme that you like most, because you are, as we saw that we said at the beginning of this show, an historian. So for you, being in Sicily means that you can touch with your hands
Yeah,
and
definitely.
see with your eyes the Sicilian history. How do you feel by that?
It's amazing. I mean, I did study archaeology. Unfortunately, I never completed my studies, but I did get a chance to study in Siena on Erasmus. So that's where I got a bit of Italian. And to read sites, especially when you learn about archaeology, you know, some of the classical sites. The Valle de Templi in Agrigento is famous. You know, it's some of the best Greek archaeology, an example of that civilization, and yet it's Greek, but yet it's here in Sicily. And then you've also got the unique, something that I always wanted to come and see, which I did in August, was the Palazzo di Normandy with
Okay.
the chapel, because to me it's one of the wonders of the world. It's absolutely unique, the way the blending of Norman, Greek Orthodox, and Islamic art all together, and in a way that looks natural. You know, it's a natural mix, which is Sicily. Sicily is a melting pot of cultures because of its location and its history of so many different people settling and living or controlling it, and to shape it the way it is, because Sicilian is not a dialect in a way of Italian. It's a different language, and it's shaped by the influences that it's had throughout history. We were talking briefly about the two Sicilies, the kingdom of two Sicilies, and I said to you, and how can you have two Sicilies? And the way it was split with southern Italy being the original kingdom of Sicily, here with Palermo, where one of the oldest parliaments in the world is from, which I didn't realize until I visited. And the fact that the Sicilian Assembly is still in that building, I think, shows that, you know, Sicily respects its roots and has a lot to be proud of, really. The Greeks with Syracuse, Archimedes, and some of Plato's writings there in Syracuse is wonderful. I think La Repubblica was part of the discussions were from here in Syracuse.
Yeah.
You know, and we were talking about Selemunti, which I said Selenunti. Yeah, that is.
We were telling offline that there is so much to talk about the Sicilian history that we should do an entire series of episodes about the theme, about the topic, and starting from the fact that Sicily is in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea, and so all the civilizations that passed through the history took place and decided to move to Sicily, or to conquer Sicily. And the specialty in that sense is that since the the early stage of the civilization. We have been the presence of Greeks, Romans, but especially also the Arabians who moved to Sicily, who conquered Sicily and stayed in the island for around 200 years, and together with the Normans and then afterwards the French, the Aragonese, and then the Spanish people. Now they are. I always have a joke in that sense, saying that there have been so many populations in Sicily, and for the moment there are the Italians. It's just 160, 70 years that they have since 1861. So who knows that in the future there will be another one.
But also, with the expedition of 1,000, modern Italy was started. Made reality started here in Sicily. Garibaldi landing. That in itself is quite special. That's where they decided. Sicily was where they decided to start the unification of Italy.
Yeah.
Sicily is very much tied to Italy in that regard, which is quite special in itself. But as you said, you could discuss so much about the differences of even different periods. Classical history in Sicily has got so many things to talk about with the Carthaginians, the Greeks, and the Romans, and the fact that Sicily was the first province of the Roman Empire. That is fascinating, and the naval. One thing that I didn't really appreciate until we flew into Palermo was how much of an important and perfect it was as a harbor. I mean, it's just correct. It's got a natural fortification with its mountains, and it's just perfect for being a harbor. And
actually, the name itself of Palermo, the Latinization of the name is Panormus, which means all port, tutto porto. And this because effectively is a natural port that you can use for this kind of usages, and indeed it was used since the beginning of the history for that purpose. And talking about the physical places that you could have visited, were you able to visit some of the places, the archaeological sites around Cianciana? We have La Valle dei Templi, the Greek Temple Valley in Agrigento, Selinunte itself. Have you been able there to go there? Which were your feelings once you went there?
The Valle dei Templi I managed to visit, and that was in August. Because unfortunately, due to COVID, a lot of the historical sites are closed now. So and with restrictions on travel, which makes sense, But the Valle dei Templi was in some ways overwhelming. You see it in pictures and you see certain parts, but to see the bigger picture and to realize it's not just temples, it is literally a Greek city remains there. Is something that I think was worth every visit, and Selinunte is definitely on the list. I did try and visit Kilimanjaro, but unfortunately that was closed as well.
It is also closed at Archaeological, right? Yeah,
But
once you go there, you will see something incredible, because apart from the archaeological site, which is wonderful, and also there is a Greek theater in Herakleia Minoa, which for a long time has been covered by a plastic layer. It was horrible to see during your visit. Now they are completely restoring that place, removing the plastic layer. But the from my perspective, the best of that place, the magic of that place is that it's on top of a cliff, and from there you can see all the coast, the white sand, the pineta, the wood just behind the beach itself. It's something
Oh, it is.
magical. Once you go there, you will appreciate. But it's I would really invite everybody to go to that place, because not anybody goes there, because you normally go to the beach. You don't stop at the archaeological site. But the moment I got there, I thought that it was a paradise, actually.
I did visit there. I did go and try and visit, and unfortunately, as you're talking about the restoration, that's why it was closed. Actually, it wasn't due to COVID.
Yeah,
but the location is unreal. It said on the sign that they were doing restoration work, and then that's why it was closed. But as you said, the location's unbelievable. You can see Secca Grande, the beaches. It just stretches out and right on top of the cliff, and it's quite a special place.
Yeah, indeed. So as we are talking here in Cianciana Piazza Virtuale, we are touching the theme of the history of Sicily. One question that I would like to give you regards the current moment of the Sicilian society, considered all this treasure of history that we have got on our shoulders. So in that sense, from your perspective, how much of the historical events influence the way the Sicilian society or the Sicilian people is nowadays?
I think it's a really good question, and I think it's the same for most places. The history shapes people in terms of how they see themselves, and the fact that the Sicilian island has changed hands so many times throughout history and had such an influx of different cultures that regard to that. With you've got the Spanish, you've got the French, you've got the Normans, you've got the Moors with the Islamic culture. It's sort of given it a unique melting pot, and and perhaps in some ways maybe that's reflected in Cianciana as well, with the fact that people are so welcoming from other places and other countries, because it's used to having such an influx of different people. And also definitely in the language. When I first heard Sicilian, I was very shocked, because it was very different to Italian. And as people keep telling me, first learn Italian, then Sicilian, and then Cincinese.
Yeah, indeed. In our language, there are influences from different languages that came through our history. There are a lot of terms from French language, for example, Arabian, and Spanish also. If you talk with elder people, they use a language in the dialect which is for certain aspects more close to the Spanish language than it is the current one, the modern one. So it's also true that the linguistic side is very affected by all these changes that we had.
And I think also architecturally, the building style, it's got, sometimes you see some buildings in some of the towns, and it looks like it's straight out from Spain, especially Palermo, which was such a melting pot as being capitals of different kingdoms or regional capital. It has such a different style. Some things look very, very Spanish. And then you've got the cathedral just down from the Palazzo di Normani, and that's got so many Arabic influences, it's fantastic, and it's also there's a very Greek style with the Orthodox, and that's what makes Sicilian history, I think, fascinating. It's made all these different cultures that perhaps you wouldn't put together. They put it together in a way that's unique, and it looks right. You know, it looks natural. It's Sicilian culture, and it's got such a unique, beautiful blend that that it's hard not to appreciate it. You know, there's not many cultures that can be put together and create something new,
Yeah.
and it to be, I'd say, its diversity makes it more interesting because of it.
It's true, and also you need more than 1 year or one
Yeah,
century to build such a mess, because it's just a stratification of different
it
layers,
is.
and it's really nice. And also, one thing that is real of Sicily is that there wasn't a cleanup of the previous culture once the second arrived. It was just built on top of
Mm,
the previous one. So you can see plastically this example in the church of Siracusa. If you go to
mm,
Siracusa, the main church, the basilica of Siracusa, if I remember well, is of Santa Lucia, and the columns of that church are those of an old Roman temple, so still
yeah,
there, and
exactly.
just united by the walls to create the church. And it is, let's say, the symbol of this melting pot, together with the Duomo di Monreale. We were talking
Mm,
before about the Duomo di Monreale. If you go there, it's the union of three different cultures in a single church. You don't visit
yeah,
only the church, but you visit this mixture of the Arabic, the Byzantine, and the Normans culture, all in a single church. So the emotion comes not only from visiting only the place, but to see how the history passed
mm.
through the years in a single place.
Yeah, and it's the same with the Sicilian Parliament that was founded by Roger of Sicily. You know, that was built on because of the way that they, when the Normans conquered Sicily, incorporated the Islamic towns and all the different the Greek uh, areas that were under control, and
Yeah.
the Arabic, by merging them together so that they could talk together, and that's, you know, not modern democracy as we would see it now, but the fact that it's an assembly because of its unique diversity, it needed it, and that perhaps is something that, you know, is something very much that Sicily, it can be proud of, and the regional assembly being in the same building, that really did
Nowadays.
blow me away.
Yeah.
That was very cool to
Yeah,
understand that.
yeah, yeah. Still is the place of the democracy in our region.
And yeah,
We talk a lot badly about the politicians, but still we shall remember that the democracy, it's the best way of managing the society.
yeah,
And in that place, historically, there was the parliament, some with
yeah,
more or less power depending on the period, but still, it is at the moment over there.
yeah.
So we are approaching the end of our conversation. It's being very interesting, and talking about the outlook and the projects. Which are your projects for the future, if you have any? Would you stay in Cianciana for a while, or would you move back to England, or going elsewhere? Which are your plans?
At the moment, yeah, I definitely want to stay in Cinciano. That's something that I wanted to move out here. One of my dreams was to try and live in Italy, and when I visited Sicily, this is felt like the best place to do that, and the place that I really wanted to, just because there's so much to explore. And I think if, in looking forward in the future, that's something that I would like to look at, is to share that enthusiasm and love of the island, because there's so much. What I'm learning here is all the more times there's so much to see in every different site. There's an archaeology site in Cianciana, which was fascinating to hit, and everywhere you look with the different castles, Castle Luna in Shaka, and places like that maybe are not necessarily well-known tourist sites, not on most people's itineraries, but no less fascinating because of it. Because historical sites are still about people and stories, and there's a lot of stories here that you can explore everywhere, and I think that's something that I'd like to look into, definitely, to find a way to share with other people, and to explore it myself, to constantly learn about the history and different people's stories.
There is something that comes to my mind while you talk, and it regards you guys who moved to Cianciana lately. You, Richard, Claire. I'm following especially Richard's or Claire's profile on Facebook, and I really love the way they look at Sicily, the way they describe the island, and the pictures or the videos they do is something unbelievable. We are learning at least myself, I'm learning a lot about my country and about my place through their eyes, through their stories. So it's really precious, the thing that you are doing, and the feeding that you are giving us with your way of living the place. Because once you are born in a place, you get used to it. But in this case, it's a sort of a rediscovery of the place through people who are looking at it with new eyes, with a different approach.
You do. I mean, I'm from Warwickshire, in England, and that is the county where William Shakespeare was born and lived and died. And yet, I think I was still in a pushchair, I think, when I last visited his house. So when it's on your doorstep, sometimes you know it's there, so you don't always go out and look at it, because you think, well, it was there yesterday, so it'll be there tomorrow. And when you want to go and look at new places, you sometimes look elsewhere. But it is nice to definitely, when you walk out in the countryside here, it's just stunning and breathtaking, the views. It's something that I'm not. I come from quite a flat. There's a few hills, but to see the mountains and the forest, and it's quite untamed, part of it, and it's. You feel like when you go out, like to Monte Cavallo, you go to that site, into the reserve, and you go up to the top of the hill, and you see Sicily stretched out and the mountains. It feels isolated, but you know that there's life just there, and it's nice to hear, to say that, as someone, Cincinnati themselves, that it's nice recognizing your home as well, because I think that's important. I think that's something that everyone makes mistakes of. Every place has something to offer, and Cianciana and Sicily's got so much, and it'd be nice to share it with other people as well.
Very, very true, and very, very nice to hear. So in that sense, enjoy the place, enjoy the discovery, and I'm sure that by following you, as well as I'm following the other guys, I will discover a lot of the beauty hidden in Cianciana and in Sicily. There is a place I would suggest to visit from my perspective, which is the Quisquina, La Quisquina in Santo Stefano di Quisquina. It's not far away. It's over Bivona. Santo Stefano di Quisquina has got the Eremo di Santa Rosalia, which was a cave where the Santa Rosalia hide once she was escaping from Palermo, and there is un convento, a church over there with the rooms of the brothers over there. It's something incredible to visit, and it's hidden as the beauty we are talking about.
Yeah,
so
perfect.
we are at the end of our interview. Shelley is saying, "Hey, Andy," and I am and I am thanking you, really, Andy, for your time, for this chat, and hopefully we'll see each other in Cianciana this summer.
Definitely, and thank you very much, Vito. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks a lot, and thanks to you all for attending this show. If you want to share, you will find the video here on Facebook and in YouTube in our Cianciana Piazza Virtuale channel. See you next time. Bye bye. Ciao, Andy.
Ciao.